I am so excited to share this recipe with you today. There's nothing better than a pound cake, except when you kick it up a little bit by throwing some lemon in there and making a lemon pound cake. Now traditionally a pound cake had a pound of sugar, a pound of eggs, a pound of butter, and a pound of flour. Now mine doesn't have all that, but it is absolutely delicious, the same as a regular pound cake, except a pound of sugar sure is a lot to be going through your bloodstream, so I'm gonna avoid that. So when life gives you lemons, what do you make? Lemon pound cake. Stick around. The first thing I'm gonna do to make this lemon pound cake is preheat my oven to 350 degrees. After I check it out, of course, to make sure there's nothing crazy hanging out in there. Yep. Of course, I got a ton of baking sheets in there. So let me get rid of these and I'll preheat it to 350. The next thing I'm gonna do is take my little 15-in-1 chopper, cutter, egg separator thingy. I'm gonna separate egg whites from egg yolks. You're gonna need 8 eggs total, but I'm gonna start with 3 and separate them just so I don't bore you half to death. So I'm just gonna set these on the counter. Hopefully they don't roll away. And I'm gonna separate them one at a time. So you can just put it in here like this. It'll make all the whites go down to the bottom, the yolks will stay right here, and I'll dump them into this. And one thing you always want to make sure of in a recipe like this when you're whipping up egg whites is you don't get any of the yolk into the whites. Now if you're not going to be whipping them up, it doesn't really matter. And it's okay to get a little bit of white in the yolk, but you don't want vice versa. Because a little bit of fat in there will make it where they don't whip right. And then after you got those separated, we'll set these to the side and move on to the next step. So I'm gonna grab my yellow mixing bowl, and if you're wondering where I'm getting stuff from down there, I've got an assistant that sits on the floor the whole time and hands stuff up to me. Okay, so I don't, but I'm thinking about getting one of those little carts to put on the side just so I got all my ingredients together. It's not so weird to do all that. So anyway, I'm gonna grab my sweetener, and this is the confectioner sweetener that I make by making my regular sweetener version and then powdering it up in the blender. And I'll put a link to that right up here somewhere and down in the description if you haven't made the sweetener. It tastes just like the Magic Bakers, but it's about 1/3 of the price. And as much as I use, that's crucial. Now I'm gonna take a stick of butter, and this has been sitting out, and this room temperature has probably been sitting out for an hour or so. I'm gonna cut it up just a little bit so that when I mix this in with the sweetener, it's a little bit easier to combine. So I've got my butter in here. Now I'll go in with a cup of this, and I know I'm using 2 of these, but this is a 1/2 cup, so I can math. I'm gonna get my hand mixer, I'm gonna mix this together until it gets real light and fluffy, and I'll be right back to show you that. Now one thing I recommend when you are having to whip egg whites is having 2 pairs of beaters, or you gotta clean these really good because you don't wanna get any fat into your egg whites when you go to whip those. So we'll just start this off. I always like to push this down a little bit, just try to get it not like that. Try to get it combined together as much as you can before you start whipping this together. That way there's less chance of this stuff flying all over the place. Looks pretty good right there. Then once it gets nice and fluffy like that and well combined, you might just want to scrape down your edges for one more go at it. Make sure you get everything together in there real nice, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So then I'm gonna add in all the egg yolks. I got 3 here. I'm gonna put in a teaspoon of the finest beaver-free vanilla extract. And if you're new here and you don't know about that beaver-free vanilla extract, by law, manufacturers are not required to put that on the label. Kidding, it's kind of a joke, but Google vanilla and beavers, that's no joke. I got 5 here. Now why I use that small container for 8 egg yolks, never know what I'm gonna do. Dump all those right in the mix. Then I'm gonna go in with 1 cup of Greek yogurt. And I'm using this kind of Greek yogurt right here. This is the non-fat plain. Normally I use full fat and everything, but for this, and not like you're depending on your pound cake to get all your protein needs, but 3/4 cup of this has 18 grams of protein. So there you go. So I'll just add that right in the mix. we'll just stir this up till this is all real well incorporated. I'm gonna zest 2 lemons in here now. And make sure, if you're zesting lemons, you wanna get organic lemons. They spray regular lemons a lot. And if you ever wanna know what you really need to watch out for, there's a list called the Dirty Dozen. And those are the 12 most sprayed fruits and vegetables. And those are the ones you always wanna make sure, if you can. I'm making this real lemony, so I'm putting 2 lemon zests in here from 2 whole lemons. If you don't like it quite as lemony, don't put as much zest in. You can do 1 lemon if you want to, but I feel like if you're watching this, you like a good lemony pound cake. So we'll do 2. As soon as I get that other one zested, I'll be right back. I always make fresh lemon juice to keep in the fridge because we add it into our electrolytes in the morning. And if you just roll this around on the counter like that, it's gonna help you get the most amount of juice out of it that you can. We're only using 1/4 cup in this recipe. And these are 2 pretty good sized lemons. So let's just see how much we're gonna need. You can just push this on here and those little slits in there will catch the seeds so the seeds don't go down in your lemon juice. And you're gonna need 1/4 cup of the lemon juice. So I'm gonna call that good. I'm gonna go right in with this. I'm gonna grab those same beaters that I used already just to mix this together, get a nice smooth blend. And if you taste this right now, ooh-wee, it's gonna be lemony, but not to worry. We'll put in some other ingredients. It's gonna make it just right. Now I'm gonna take another mixing bowl. I'm gonna take my egg whites from earlier and dump those right in. And pretty much any time that I bake anything keto, I always do this step just to help the consistency a little bit, because you know you don't get much rise out of this stuff, so every little advantage you can get will help. So now that we got stiff peaks, I'm gonna set that to the side, bring the yellow bowl back in. Now I'm gonna add in 2 cups of almond flour. And if you don't like almond flour, I don't need to know about it. You can substitute pork rinds in there if you want to. Just make sure that you watch the video where I make the pork rinds so you'll know what kind to get so it doesn't taste like a lemon pork pound cake. Now I'm gonna add in 1/2 cup of coconut flour. And coconut flour absorbs a lot of moisture because this is a real wet mix right now. And that's why we're putting this in. We'll go right in with that. I'm gonna add in 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. I'm gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you just want to mix this until this is barely combined. See how it's starting to come together like that? Man, the smell is good. I mean, if you love lemons, you're gonna really enjoy making this the whole time you're making it. So now that's together. I'm gonna fold in these egg whites and then we're gonna bake up some pound cake, y'all. Now's the easy part. Loaf pan. This is a stoneware one. I'll link it down below. And you know, gotta make this look good, right? Just ball that up like that. Stick it right in the pan. Just get it as clean looking as you can. Or you can make the fancy little slings out of it or whatever. Whatever you like to do. And this is what it should look like when you get done mixing. About this consistency. Kind of almost like a cornbread mixture, if you will. Then you just got to pour it right into this pan. Now don't be getting all overly aggressive with this, but you want to make sure you kind of smooth the top down just a little bit, just to make it pound cake-ish. Now listen, before you throw this in the oven, just let me tell you. Well, I can tell you it's delicious. Before you put it in the oven, remember this, it can take anywhere from 1 hour to 2 hours. You're gonna stick a skewer right down the middle of it after an hour. And remember this, if the skewer ain't clean, it's time to get mean. Put this bad boy right back in that piping hot oven until it learns this lesson. Now after an hour, if the top's getting a little too brown, we're gonna put some foil over the top and keep cooking till it gets right. So it's been 1 hour. We're gonna take this out and check it. And this is how it looks. I can tell you it's probably not ready yet, but we'll check it and see. So there's just a little bit on that skewer. So we'll put it back in. I'm gonna put a little bit of foil over the top just because I don't want it to get any more brown. Put it in for another 15 minutes. So it's been about an hour and a half. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out. And let's take a look. That looks great. But let's make sure it's done. That is clean. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. Don't go cutting it yet. You gotta let it sit here for about 15 minutes in the pan and cool. And then we'll take it out, put it on a cooling rack, then we'll be able to cut it. So now you can just take it right out, put it on a cooling rack, just kind of pull that parchment paper back just a little bit. And I might have done mine about 5 minutes too long. It's a little bit dark, but I kind of forgot about it for a few minutes. And what you gonna do? It's still gonna taste delicious, and you can't nail it every time. So can I just tell you, I'm more than a little bit excited to cut into this bad boy. This thing is completely cool. And let's just see how it cuts, shall we? Now listen, I'm gonna tell you, I know this is a little bit overcooked. I should have done this maybe 5-10 minutes less, but look at that. Even though it was a little bit overcooked on the outside, I mean, holy cow, that is one beautiful cake. And it's not bad. I'm not saying it's like burnt to a crisp or anything. It's a little more overcooked than what I've been doing, but hey, listen, when you go in the kitchen, sometimes it ain't always perfect, even though some people on these videos will tell you it is. There's a lot of times when it's just not, so don't beat yourself up over it. I'm sure not going to. If I need to scrape off a little bit of that exterior, I will, but I'm gonna tell you about that in a second. I'm gonna try this end piece, warts and all. So I'm gonna say about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes is probably perfect, but this is a delicious, delicious pound cake. You're gonna love it. Just don't cook it quite as long as I did. And if you want something that goes perfect with this, click this video right here. It's an ice cream that stays nice and creamy, just like it should be in the freezer, even after a week or two because of the ingredients I put in it. Hope you enjoy it.